Mental Health, the Up and Up. We're trying to make mental health care clear, helpful, and maybe even fun. We're chatting with licensed therapists, but this is not therapy. These are simply thoughts and ideas for you to discuss with your own therapist and to help you on your journey of complete wellness. So we wanted to talk a bit today about what's happening when you just can't get over it, whatever
Mhm.
it is. And I wanted to give you an example to work with of a situation. So I've talked about this before on the podcast where recently I've been struggling with figuring out where boundaries should be in a relationship and then acting in that relationship. So the example I had was I have a friend who something happened and I got very upset about a boundary they set.
Mhm.
And I've kind of backed off on actually talking to them because not because I'm trying to ghost them, I'm not trying to drop the relationship, but I needed space to dissect why I'm mad.
Mhm.
And I needed space to dissect whether or not I had a right to be mad and whether or not
Mhm.
that was their problem to
Mhm.
be in on. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I'm writing a couple notes so I don't
Okay.
forget to.
Okay. So I've had the time to really think it through, and I do feel like it's something I need to bring up to them, but my brain still isn't happy about it. And I
Mm.
still haven't brought it up to them, and I should, but my brain still isn't happy with it enough to bring it forward in a way
Mhm.
that makes sense. And so I can't quite get over it. It's still a problem, even
Mhm.
though I think I understand why I'm mad and whether or not I have a right to be mad and whether it's something they should know.
So, yeah, no, that's so a couple of things that just popped in that were repeated a couple of times was about, I need to think about this. I wonder if I don't know whether I had the right to. I'm curious about, I don't know that you use those words exactly, but a
Right.
lot of reflection type words.
Mm-hmm.
And I do think that's one reason that things keep coming up and where they're like, why does this keep coming up? I should be
Mm-hmm.
over this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, my first
And
piece of advice is just get over it, Anna. Just get over it.
oh, okay. All
Yeah,
better.
that helps. Yeah, just like never say to anyone who's upset,
Calm
calm down.
down.
Yeah, they know, and it doesn't make them
Yeah.
calmer, it just makes them upset and angry. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so you do keep talking about, I wonder if, do I have the right? And there's this sense of curiosity about what's important to you and what that
Mm-hmm.
this friendship means to you. So, um, does that make sense to you? Is that something?
It makes sense. It's just not super helpful. Like I know I'm curious because I'm still asking questions.
Well, here's the
Um,
insight, but nothing's
okay.
going to change. No, no,
Right.
I was joking.
Right.
Yeah. So in that process, so one of the reasons that we might not get over something is that it reminds us that we have something to process.
mm,
Like if I keep remember, if it just keeps getting into my brain, oh, that, um, I interrupted people, I interrupted this person in this conversation so many times,
mm-hmm.
then maybe I need to be reminded to not interrupt people so much. So my brains are like, reminding you, you know,
Okay. So it's your brain trying to help you rebuild a new habit.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Um, and that's one reason. I do think it reminds us also to just contemplate,
Hmm.
something about this is important to you. And you're reminded of it a lot.
But at the point that all I'm doing is cycling it over and over and over in my head and I'm not making any progress, like it gets really annoying. At the point I'm annoyed with thinking about it, it's bad.
Yeah.
But it's I've had conversations like there's certain topics that I end up hitting over and over and over with the exact same people, and for whatever reason it's stuck in my head that it's important that I need to communicate this
Hmm.
to the point where everyone around me is like, "Oh my god, yes, we know."
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what it feels like in my brain too. So it's
Yeah.
like, how do I help myself stop? I guess is the better question.
So the there are some exercises or some things that might help about figuring out why, the deeper why of why
Mm-hmm.
that keeps coming up. And my guess is it is going to keep coming up until you figure that out, you know.
Mm.
So some things to think about might be what do you wish, how do you wish that interaction had gone differently? Or, well, I'll start with that
Mm.
one. How do you wish that interaction would have gone differently?
Okay. I wish I would have addressed. I wish I would have had the clarity to be able to address my upset
Hmm.
in the moment. So we asked for something. I asked for something, and the person said, well, yes, but only within these parameters. And those parameters didn't, they made me mad.
Hmm.
Um, and I kind of wish I would have addressed it better at the time of actually delving into it so that we could have had that conversation. But even saying that at the time, there wasn't space or time to do that, you
Hmm.
know?
So, like we talked about in other podcasts too, when something happens, we have a feeling, and then our brain kind of says, and do something about it. In a
Mm-hmm.
lot of situations, that's difficult to do in that particular, like you can't call her up and say, hey, let's revisit this thing that happened 7 years
Right.
ago. That just doesn't
Exactly.
make sense. But I would say that similar to how athletes who are about to play a game, or you see it a lot with gymnasts, right before they do a tumble, they go like, it's just like this stop. I know what I'm going to do. I have the plan in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And that's before something. So once you have that thought in your head to kind of go, okay, what's that thought trying to tell me again? What's important to me again?
Hmm.
So if we could pull that thought out of your head and it could talk,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think that thought is trying to say to you? And you're saying like, shut up already. But that thought is there like, but this part is important, Anna. So why do you think, kind of separating out from I keep doing this, saying
Mm-hmm.
like my brain keeps doing this, what do you think your brain is trying to tell you?
I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. No, and so you keep on with questions and ideas until it makes sense or something pops forward, and I'm not in your brain, so I'm not going to know.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to keep asking interesting questions.
Okay.
So the thing that you wish had gone differently is that you would have had more clarity and more assertiveness, or more of a space from her. Was it you didn't
Um,
feel?
no, I wish I would have had the time to actually delve into it before agreeing to the terms, because that was the other
Mm,
part of it is I had to agree to the terms or turn them down in the moment, which means I had to say yes to something that I wasn't actually okay with. So I wish I'd had more time to actually, or more ability to actually say yes or no with a clearer. Mm.
so is it something, do you think it's coming from you? Like you wish you had realized or changed things that you're there like, oh, in a lot of situations, I don't take the time? Or do you think it was her where you're there like, people aren't giving me the time?
Um, in this case, it was neither. It was just the circumstances. I didn't have a lot of options at the time, and it was on a time limit just based on other life things going on.
Hmm.
So
And that may be one reason why it keeps coming up is that it didn't play out the way you wanted to because you didn't have the time.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned about in the previous example, you had mentioned there just wasn't time because
Hmm.
of just life circumstances.
Hmm.
So if you and her were talking, and just like in movies where like they freeze, everyone else freezes, but you and her get to keep talking.
Hmm.
Does that make sense? The
Hmm.
example?
Yes.
So you have the time you need. You have the 20 minutes or 2 days or whatever time you need. What would you have said or done differently? Or what would you, why do you wish you might have had that extra 20 minutes or 2 days or whatever? Why
Well,
would that make the situation different?
well, I would have taken the time to clarify why she had put in those stipulations
Uh-huh.
specifically, like what had happened to where she felt like this was necessary.
Uh-huh.
I would have clarified, I would have expressed how if with these stipulations it feels like she's not really comfortable saying yes to what I asked her for
Uh-huh.
because she had to put in all these stipulations, so I would have clarified whether that was true or not.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and really, if none of that went the way I hope,
Mm-hmm.
I would have chosen to not take her up on the offer.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have found something else to do, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I would have found a different way of approaching the problem that I asked her to help with
Right.
that didn't include her. Which sounds petty, but I don't mean it that way. I just mean
Uh-huh.
that if it was obviously a problem, something about this was a problem, then I would have found a different way.
So it sounds to me that the time was a big part of it. It sounds to me like you know what you wanted or needed. You wanted more clarity. You wanted some questions answered. You
Yeah.
wanted more time to decide yes or no. Do I want to take
Well,
this?
yeah, but the time I needed for myself was because I was asking for use of her resources,
Uh-huh.
which are hers to do with as she chooses, and I 100% respect that.
Mm-hmm.
But I also know that she's put herself forward as someone who wants to help and be a compassionate soul. And so it felt like there was a conflict there. And so I guess what I had to struggle with was understanding was clarifying whether I was understanding her properly as to who she was.
Mm-hmm.
I needed to think that through.
Mm-hmm.
And I needed to think through, okay, I'm mad because this didn't go the way I wanted, which
Mm-hmm.
was to just get to use this resource.
Yeah.
And so, okay, is that mad something that's just a frustration because, oh, life didn't go the way I wanted? That's not her fault. I
Yeah.
just get to be mad about that and deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
Or is that mad because, okay, I asked you for something and you gave it to me in a way that was unhelpful?
Mm-hmm.
And that is something I need to talk about with her. Like, and so
Mm-hmm.
that was the dissection that took me months and months and months to really work through. Um,
So that's two assumptions that you're assuming about yourself and why this might have been important.
okay,
One is that you're just pissed that you didn't get what you wanted, you know.
right.
The other one was, you know, were you seeing her
Mm-hmm.
incorrectly? Was she saying something different than
Mm-hmm.
how she acted? Can you think of a couple of other, the reasons why you're disappointed with how that situation turned out?
It left me in an uncomfortable situation because I had to shift the rest of my plans based off of her stipulations.
Hmm.
So I was left in the lurch a little bit.
Was some of it that she didn't take the time or effort to understand your point of view?
No, I don't think that was a problem.
Okay. Um, was it that she took a power position over you and kind of didn't give you the opportunity, but maybe said, you
Mm,
must do this? Or
I
I
I
get to tell you
don't
what to do?
I don't think intentionally, but I do
Uh-huh.
think that's how I was left feeling. Was
Yeah.
I was in a position where I had no power and had to accept her offer even though it didn't properly fit my need.
Uh-huh. So once you start to explore some options, and again, make 7 assumptions rather than try to stop making assumptions,
Mhm.
then the next thing you might do is to think about other times when that feeling has come up or
Mm.
kind of the core of that situation has come up. So, what I think you had the most response to was the duplicity, people who say things but then don't act that way.
Mhm.
And the second one was the one you just said that I already forgot. Oh,
The
power position.
power
Yeah,
dynamic.
sorry about that. So, starting with the first one, what's your experience been with people who say one thing and do another that doesn't seem to match?
Not great.
Mhm. As far as how much trouble that's caused in your life, was it just a little bit or huge?
Um, Varietous, both.
Okay.
You know,
But
it's life. It happens all the time, and sometimes it's big things, and sometimes it's little. I remember when I was a kid, one of my best friends, quote unquote, there were three of us, and we were all best friends, but the one got very proprietary over the other and would leave
mhm,
me out of things. So even
mhm.
though I was her best friend, I was left out of the loop and not included in some of our trio things that should be trio but ended up being duo.
Yeah. So she said, "I'm your best friend, but I don't like hanging out with you."
Or I want to hang out with her more and not with you around because she'd get jealous. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a duplicitous thing and also a power thing. She got to
Mm-hmm.
decide, you didn't.
And that was the other thing with that situation. She had more access to the other friend
Mm,
and more availability to do things with her and never really included me.
hmm I hear a real sadness when you say that
Oh, yeah.
still. So you're holding on to that sadness.
Yeah. The relationships weren't what I needed or wanted. And it wasn't the fault of one friend and it was the fault of the other, but it still means that both relationships were damaged.
That's the other theme I tend to hear from you is a relationship that was important to me fell apart.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Go
So,
figure.
yeah, before we talk about your specific situations, just in general, when people are hanging on to things, a couple of ways to figure out why is one is to just ask those creative questions. If time froze, or I like the question of if you could get into their dreams at night and just talk and they woke up knowing what you said, you got that opportunity where they couldn't interrupt and they couldn't say, yeah, but you
Mm,
just got 20 minutes in their dream. Um,
it's got some creepy connotations there. I don't know. I'm going
in
to
a
haunt
helpful
you
way.
now.
Yeah. But that's why a lot of times people say, write a letter. Don't send it, but write a letter.
Yeah.
So that's one way. The other way is to say, when have I felt this feeling or been in this situation before?
Mm-hmm.
Which may indicate like an unresolved issue from the past or present that is more pressing and
Mm-hmm.
more difficult. And you're trying to figure out ways to deal with that situation. And if you figure out ways to deal with the less stressful or less pressing situation, then maybe you can figure out some things to do with the bigger situation.
Mm-hmm.
The other way to try to figure that out, and uh, I like this one, and people tend to get uh, a lot of real insights from this, is to write down what the problem is 5 times, then walk away, write down what the problem is 5 times, walk away, write down what the problem is 5 times. And that might take a day, that might take an hour, that might take a month. And you'll start to see themes. You'll start to see, like the first time you might write, I didn't like having power, I didn't like not getting what I wanted, and I lost a relationship. And then the
Mhm.
next time you come back, you'll be there like, she was mean. I didn't get to say what I wanted, and I lost a relationship. And the next time you'll say, she didn't value me and blah, 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 and I lost a relationship. I'm oversimplifying,
Right.
but if you dwell on it more
Mhm.
and notice those themes, um, you get closer to figuring out what the problem is. And if you don't know what the problem is, it's harder to fix. And if you do, then you can strategize how to fix it.
True.
Um, the other way to do that, um, just give me a second. It floated into my head and then it went away. Um, Shoot, it'll come back uh, because important things do tend to come back, which is kind of what we're talking about.
True.
If something's important, it won't leave you alone. And so it's trying to figure out what was important to you in that situation.
Mhm.
So
So
asking your
how do you make peace with them though?
so it's really hard to make peace with it if you don't know what you're not at peace with.
See, and that's the frustration half the time though is I do sometimes feel like, "Oh no, I know what the problem is, but it's still not going away or it's still not resting in my mind, you know?"
So I would say to either think about how, if you can't resolve it in real life, how you could resolve it uh, uh, metaphorically. And
Hmm.
sometimes I have an example of uh, one time, I don't know, someone done me dirty, whatever. And then in an unrelated way, before I was over it, sent me a gift. And I'm there
Mhm.
like, for one thing, the gift clearly indicated that she didn't know who I was. It's like, which was the
Mhm.
problem originally, that she wasn't listening to, this is who I am.
Mhm.
So she sent me flowers I was allergic to, not exactly, but,
Right.
so, and I have a hard time with efficiency or waste. So this was a nice gift. And I'm there like, okay, it doesn't fit me or who I am. And it kind of makes me feel like she's pressuring me to be over something when I'm not. So
Mhm.
I donated it to a charity. And again, that kept that flow of what she wanted and also made me feel like, okay, I can accept that she's just not in the space to do this. But
Hmm.
somehow having that move on symbolically also helped it move on in reality.
Hmm.
So that's one
Okay.
option. And the other thing it might be, especially once you figure out what bothers you about the situation, is to figure out what the core meaning or the core value is under that. And if for you, the core value is preserve relationships even when you disagree,
Mhm.
then that may be a reminder of, with Stephen, oh my goodness, he's disagreeing with me again, but oh, that's right. Remember, so and so. I need to preserve this relationship even when he's wrong, or even when we disagree. So sometimes it's about those values,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's about the underlying deeper need as well. Um, and I had an example, and again, I'm trying to, where someone was holding on to a relationship that had ended,
Mhm.
and she didn't know why she was holding on to this. She didn't even want to be around the person anymore, but
Right.
she kept thinking about it. And in talking about it a little bit, wondering about it a little bit, uh, and bouncing it off other people, which I think is also a good thing to do, she came to realize that that person fulfilled a need in her that nobody else had fulfilled.
Mm.
And that doesn't mean get back together with that person,
Right.
but that means that is definitely a need,
Mhm.
and for it was kind of that honeymoon period need of, oh my God, you're amazing. I'm going to the mailbox. Will you come with me? So it was that need of just feeling important in someone's life.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
That
So
makes sense.
And if you don't get that anywhere else, and then all of a sudden you do get that,
Mm-hmm.
or the opposite, you do get something somewhere else where everybody, I think I know in your family, everybody tried to keep their relationship and not, they didn't get along all the time, but
Mm-hmm.
that relationship was most important.
Yeah.
And then there's this weird thing where the relationship wasn't the most important thing.
Yeah.
So, so it can solidify our values or make us aware of our needs or change our patterns. It can also literally mean go talk to that person again.
Yeah.
So I think the first thing is to play it, let your brain actually think about it more rather than less. And
Quit squashing it.
yeah, and say, I like to think of someone I admire, or again, my own brain, or say, like, if a teacher I admire kept saying, hey, 2 plus 2 is 4, hey, remember 2 plus 2 is 4. Hey, 2 plus 2 is 4. Why is that teacher trying to tell me that? Because 2 plus 2 is 4. So if that memory is trying to say that to me, or if you could imagine someone you admire saying to you, oh, Anna, do you remember this story about this person who done you dirty? Why would they keep reminding you of that? Why would somebody who is a teacher or a mentor, or your own brain, why would your own brain keep bringing that up? Our brains are kind of meant to protect us and help us.
Yeah.
Why do they keep bringing up this unpleasant thing? So can you think of someone? I can think of someone for you, but I'll let you pick. Can you think
Okay.
of someone whose advice you like, whose advice has been helpful?
Yours is wonderful.
Oh,
And I'm not just saying it. No. Um, you're definitely one of them. My husband actually is another. Even when I don't agree with him or
uh,
don't agree with the way he would approach a problem, his insights are very helpful.
uh-huh,
And he gives me the kick in the butt I need sometimes when I'm perseverating too much and I just
uh-huh.
need to buck up and do it.
Yeah. So if you could add one or two more people just real quickly, who would you add?
My mom,
Uh-huh.
um,
How about like even an imaginary person,
an
or
imaginary
or
person. Oh dear.
someone from history,
Oh
your
dear.
your favorite character in a book or in a movie. I always randomly go to Scooby-Doo, and I have no idea why.
For
They're like,
advice? No.
I
Oh goodness.
that's okay. Let's go with the three. Okay, so me,
Yeah.
Stephen, and your mom
Yeah.
have decided to do an intervention,
Okay.
right? And
Dun dun.
right? And in like a more traditional intervention, it's like, hey, here's the ways that drinking has affected you negatively. Here's the ways we're here to support you.
Mm.
So if me and your mom and Stephen were there, like, Anna, remember that time? Anna, remember that time? Hey,
Mm.
Anna, don't forget that time. Why the heck would we be doing that? Why would your mom want to remind you of that? Why would
Mm.
I, and why would Stephen?
Okay.
Because
Oh
there,
my
there is
gosh.
a reason. Go
Sorry.
ahead.
They did that in one of the Harry Potter books. I'm trying to remember which one it was. I think it was the third or the fourth one where Harry's sitting in his room and he's worried about something and he's like, "Well, what would what would Ron tell me in this situation?"
Uh-huh.
And he talks about it from Ron's perspective. What would Hermione do if I
Yeah.
told her? What would and he goes through all of his friends and that's I just realized that's what she did. And I'm like, "Oh my
Yeah.
gosh."
Ah, uh-huh. So, I would maybe remind you, like, if you baked a cake and didn't put baking powder in it, and then you baked a cake and didn't put baking powder, and then you baked a cake and didn't put baking powder, you started to bake a cake, I might say, hey, remember the
Mhm.
baking powder. So in this situation, what do you think? I would be, or your mom would be, or Stephen would be trying to remind you of?
Well,
Okay.
poop. No, no,
No.
it would be reminding me that relationships are important.
Mm-hmm.
That would come from all three of you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and reminding me that my own principles and boundaries are also important.
Yeah. I missed that one. I mean, maybe both of us missed that one. The important part.
Yeah.
We got that your boundaries weren't respected, but kind of
Mm-hmm.
missed that they're important.
Um, yeah. And probably that talking it through with people whenever there's an opportunity is a good thing.
Hmm. I will also say that there is um, a couple of phenomenons. One is that if we keep pushing something down, our brains are like, yeah, I'm going to push that back.
Yeah.
So if you think of, this isn't something you need to push down, and maybe write a short story about it or complain about it to people who aren't sick of that story yet,
Mm-hmm.
to just give it its time.
Mm-hmm.
And my example for that is someone I know who was in a car accident, a pretty serious one. And so after that, uh, anytime she'd be in a car and someone's going probably not too fast, but in her mind too fast, or braked, hit the brakes,
Yeah.
broke. It's not broke.
Braked? I think it's
Yeah,
braked.
braked. Okay,
Which
and
sounds
braked.
terrible, but
Yeah.
in
So
this,
she would panic. She'd go, right?
right.
And some of that was just her body, her brain, her body memories just had to do that for a while. And if other people around her said, "Oh my goodness, knock it off. I'm not driving unsafely. I'm going 25 miles an hour on the freeway." No, I'm joking. I'm uh, that wouldn't have calmed her.
Yeah.
That would have made her question herself and thought she was crazy and thought they didn't understand. Thought a lot of negative things. And I'd say the same thing about your own, the things you perseverate about. Maybe it's just something that your brain has to repeat as many
Hmm.
times as it needs to. And saying to yourself, that's so stupid that I keep going back to that, is kind of like saying to her, that's so stupid that you were in an accident a week ago and broke both legs and you're still upset about it. That right, that doesn't make it lower, that makes it bigger.
Yeah.
So and all the things you do for that are also the things that are going to get you to the why, writing about it, replaying it in your head. I also replaying it in your head with the positive ending that you want. And again, sports figures do this too. If they don't act the way they wanted to act in a sport, then afterwards they can very critically or very helpfully say, "Oh, I need to remember, whatever
So,
to."
so what I'm hearing is that the arguments I have in the shower with the shampoo bottle, pretending I'm talking to the person, are actually healthy.
Yeah, I would add, what would the shampoo bottle say back? Yeah,
Touche.
yeah. And what would Stephen say? Again, if someone's reminding you of something, whether that's me, you, your mom, well, me, Stephen, your mom, or your own brain,
Hmm.
there's a reason behind it. And it is hard sometimes to figure out what the reason is when it's not super clear. Like the car accident, that's pretty darn clear.
Yeah.
This has many things that it might be.
Yeah.
There might be many reasons that it
I've
is
in the months and months and months of years
perseverating.
of perseverating on it, I've dissected out at least four
Ah,
reasons why this was important. And yeah.
do you mind sharing?
Um
Or the concepts?
it was important because I was not just mad because I didn't get my way. That was
Hmm.
not the problem at all.
Hmm.
Um and I'm glad I sorted that out because
Hmm.
it helps. Um I was upset because the stipulations hinted that there was a problem in our relationship that I didn't realize was a problem that had
Uh-huh.
never been addressed.
You missed something.
She, she didn't communicate something.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Um, so there was that, and then there was the stipulations that were put in place made me feel like this wasn't someone that I could depend on as much as I thought I could.
Mhm.
Um, that I didn't feel as safe coming to them with actual needs, like true needs, like
Mhm.
safety and well being.
Yeah.
Um, so there were those pieces, and then I don't know. The part that I really perseverate over is even knowing that those are my problems. I do still respect that she has the right to use her resources or share her resources however she chooses,
Mhm.
and I want to make sure I respect that. But that doesn't necessarily mean. I mean, and I don't want that to. It always sounds so petty when you say, "Okay, well, I guess that means I'll never ask her for anything ever again." It's like that's
Right?
not where I'm trying to go with this, you know. Um, and
I
so there's that point of struggle of I want to make sure that I'm respecting that this is what she was comfortable with, but I also need her to know that this wasn't okay for me.
Mhm.
And I guess that's the hard part is yes, she has the right to do with her resources as she chooses, but this wasn't okay.
Yeah. And that's one of those things that well, it's a dialectic, one of those things where both are true at the same time.
Yeah.
And if you're flipping back and forth of either, I
Mm-hmm.
believe she has the right to do what she wants with her resources, or I have the right to be treated well,
Mm-hmm.
that's an impossible decision. So you
Yeah.
can say she has the right to do that and I get to be treated well, and that doesn't interfere with her
Yeah.
right to do what she wants with her resources.
Yeah.
And me believing people have the right to do what they want with their resources doesn't interfere with the fact that I should be treated well.
Mm-hmm.
So,
It's just where does that put the line then?
so
When you're still trying to preserve the relationship and not just say, well, to hell with you. I don't want to. I'm not never going to ask you for anything ever again. You know.
wow. So you just said the same point 3 times
Yes, I
in that
did.
one sentence.
Uh huh.
So I would explore that more. And
Hmm.
where that line is, oh my goodness. When clients come to me and ask that, I say, I wish I knew, you know, we can
There's
tell,
not a magic answer.
yeah, yeah, we can tell when it's definitely over the line. Someone
Yeah.
kicks us in the shins. Okay, every day. Okay, I don't want to be your friend anymore.
Yeah.
Someone has an irritating cough. Okay, that's the other way. That I should still be their friend. And sometimes it helps if you look at those edges and then kind of bring them into the middle, like
Hmm.
how, where is the line in the middle? Because those are easy, you
Right.
know. Um, eh, and yeah, and then thinking about that. But the other thing is that I don't think it's an either or.
Hmm.
Um, I use this example, which I'm not sure how brilliant it is yet. I don't know whether I like it or not.
Okay.
But I was talking to someone, different situation, same conflict
Hmm.
of, I believe this, but I also believe this. And you can't believe the same things at the same time. And they're really opposite.
Hmm.
And the example I came up with is it's not black and white. It's like a prism. So the light comes in and you get all the colors. You don't have to pick which color. You
Hmm.
don't have to pick, well, red or, well, violet. You get the whole rainbow, you know. So you can believe blue, she has the right to do whatever she wants.
Hmm.
Green, I have the right to be treated with respect. Purple, it's just irritating when people don't tell you what they want.
Hmm.
I'm trying to think of a color I miss. Yellow, I sure wish people would just do what they say what they do, and I'm gonna make sure I do that, or that I'm aware of when I don't do that, or when people do that, that maybe they're not the people I wanna hang around with.
Yeah.
So, all of those are very separate and yet together,
Yeah.
and when they're together, they're really pretty. So, I gotta work on that one. They're like, "There's something good in that one, but I'm not quite sure."
I can see the direction you're going with
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Um, yeah.
But I also think you are a very compassionate, yes, but also a logical thinker. And I can see you getting stuck with but if I think what she did was wrong, doesn't that naturally mean that I think she shouldn't have done it, which then means she doesn't have the right to make her own decisions?
That is
Yeah.
a little bit where I get stuck, yeah.
Yeah. And that is like figuring out, if you can't fix it in the world, figuring out how to fix it symbolically can often help, which is also why people say, write a letter. Don't send the letter, but write the letter.
Yeah, I can see that.
So the first thing is, if something keeps coming up, instead of pushing it down, bring it up even more. Maybe
Mhm.
not to people who are irritated by it, maybe in writing or imagination or imaginary conversations, or saying, brain, why are you doing this to me? So don't push it down, bring it up. The second thing is kind of try to expand that as you're bringing it up with creative things or repetitive things, to try to kind of pinpoint what the issue is, what the value is, what the need is.
Mm,
Because when things repeat, it's usually not, gee, I really like brownies and this person didn't give me brownies. It's not about the brownies. It's
right.
about, don't I want people to like me, or I want fun things, whatever those brownies represent, but it's not the
Mhm.
brownies.
I want people to think of me when they do things.
Yeah,
Even
that's a
just
big
that.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So kind of try to get that uh, deeper need or deeper value,
Yeah.
and then decide, do I need to address that with the person or go back to the situation? Do I need to address it symbolically, which will help close that cycle? And the third one is this something that I need to keep remembering so I don't become as much of a jerk as they are? And I see that a
Or
lot,
as much of a jerk as I was in that situation. I mean,
or
it could go
that.
any the direction.
Yeah. But I see that a lot, mostly with relationships, like somebody moves away or passes away, or whatever happens. And then that person, of course, perseverates on that. It's a big deal. But
Mhm.
then you can't do anything about someone dying or moving away, I
Yeah.
don't think. But then they hug all their friends,
Mm.
or they say, oh, I haven't called so and so for so long, and I just lost this person, so I'm going to call that person.
Mm.
So sometimes it can remind you of staying true to your needs. And if it really bothered you that she said something and then did another thing that didn't match what she said,
Mhm.
then you might think in your life, okay, do I do that? Do I do that and other people aren't telling me about it? Do I do that and I'm not aware of it?
Mhm.
Do I do that as much as I want to? And if it reminds you to be the kind of person you want to be,
Mhm.
then it's a good thing. And I think that's also why, and this just popped into my head, why people repeat like mantras or prayers or anything, that they have the information. It's
Mhm.
not that they're giving themselves any new information by saying the same thing every day when they wake up. It's that they want to solidify that value.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
so
this one got much more personal than most of ours. We're
yeah,
usually better about keeping it to broader
yeah.
subjects.
But
So
also,
just to reiterate from our intro, we're talking with a therapist, but this is not therapy.
it's not therapy, and even therapy to you. And I will
Not
tell you
even.
that maybe Stephen knows what situations you're talking about, but I know you pretty well. I have no idea, you know. So in that way, it's not, personal as far as, oh, I know exactly what went on. You
We're
were
not
pretty vague.
spilling the tea.
Yeah.
No.
So, but yeah, and again, that's a way to look at one situation so you can apply it to another,
Yeah.
which is we looked at
Well,
Anna's situation, so
exactly.
let's yeah.
So maybe having this more personal lens on it's going to be helpful for all y'all listening. So
Yeah.
we hope so.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of being here.
And that's the whole point. And so I do think this was definitely interesting, hopefully helpful, even a little bit fun to kind of we
Hey, we hit
laughed.
all the
Yeah,
points.
we hit all the points. And we definitely laughed about kind of a hurtful,
Yeah.
serious, big situation.
Oh
So,
yeah.
yeah. So exploring those things doesn't have to be torture or even hard work. It can be, you know, the math teacher who makes 2 plus 2 equals 4 actually a fun thing to keep repeating.
For more resources, shop at www.upandupwellness.com and hit that subscribe button. If you are in crisis and struggling right now, the national hotline is 988 and they can help you any time of the day or night.